Julio Urias, pitcher for the
Yeah.
Dodgers, unfortunately has been put on administrative leave.
Well, I don't know if
Specifically,
I'd say unfortunately. It needed to happen.
you're right, but it's unfortunate that we have to tell the story. That's what I mean. It's
There you go.
unfortunate that it happened at all.
Yeah.
He has been placed on administrative leave after a felony domestic violence arrest. And what is constituted as corporal violence on a spouse or a cohabitant is how that is defined by Major League Baseball and the Players Union. The leave is listed as indefinite, so we do not know when this might change. Here's where it gets really sad. This is his second arrest for domestic violence.
That's
first
the
was
big one.
Yeah, that's the big one. And I'll tell you why in a minute. The first one was in 2019, where he was suspended for 20 games. He was not prosecuted in that scenario because, and it was conditioned upon his agreeing to and then completing a 52-week domestic violence counseling program, as dictated by the Players Association of Major League Baseball. And that got him out of any potential, further consequences. Okay. No player, and here's the big one, no player has ever been suspended twice for domestic violence in Major League Baseball history. It has not happened. And I looked at the list of people who have been suspended, and there are about 20 people on the list who have faced any sort of adverse action by Major League Baseball since they instituted these policies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Previous MLB suspensions for domestic violence under the specific policy that they have between this is something that they in the CBA they agree on, right? Mm-hmm. So under the terms of the agreement, previous MLB suspensions have lasted anywhere from 15 to 194 games. 194 games was Trevor Bauer.
And it was brought down from 200 something, right?
Or 300 something. I can't remember exactly, but it was basically.
It was like 2 years.
Yeah, it was essentially 2 years. So he finished out a bunch of it, and then he went to, I think was it free agency, or did they just option him or something?
They DFA'd him.
That's what it was.
Because they owed him some money, still said they had to DFA him.
So if this results in an additional suspension for Julio Urias, then we're going to end up with a historical moment for baseball players. And that's a rut row of the most monumental proportions. It's going to set new precedent.
Yeah, it will. And I think the big thing that this comes down to is that I don't think we see him pitch again this year, if ever again in a Dodger. Actually, he'll be a free agent this offseason.
That's right.
I'm certain they're not going to bring him back.
Absolutely not.
Because we saw with Bauer when his suspension ended and when he was going through any of his stuff, there was they had no use for him in that clubhouse.
No, it is a remorseless goodbye. And rightly so.
Right.
I'd say.
For sure. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
But the thing that's crazy is that for Dodger pitching at this point, it's kind of like they need him, because we've talked the last couple weeks about Gonsolin gone for the year. Yeah. Walker Buehler kind of working his way back. He looks pretty good in AAA.
Yeah. Right? He does look pretty good in AAA, but Dustin May is also out.
Right. Yeah.
And so it makes you wonder what they're going to do, right?
Yeah. I don't want to say it's funny, but they have really, after they going on that tear, them and Seattle have not looked great the last week.
Which is so sad, but yeah.
So
I wonder if, things like this reverberate throughout the clubhouse, though, and the entire organization is going to feel the effects of this. And in certain cases, that could be really good for people. I mean, they've had 5 rookies come up and down during the season and take the mound. And so we've seen certain production from those rookies here and there, and then AAA, obviously. But at the big league level, they have 5 guys that have bounced in and out of the clubhouse. So there are people in the farm system that they can call on, whether or not that they're going to be any good or going to be able to help carry this team through how deep into the playoffs, we don't know.
That's the issue right there, is that like you get a bunch of young guys and sometimes we talk about how maybe they just don't know any better, right? But they all know, they all understand the gravity of the situation of the playoffs, and some guys it'll get to, some guys it won't. And some guys just they're the best of the best take the next step in the postseason, right? So it could be really tough for the Dodgers come October with all these issues that they're dealing with right now.
The other problem is that Clayton Kershaw against Miami recently showed low velocity and quite a bit of location issues. It's the speculation now becomes, did his shoulder injury from earlier in the season all the way heal? Did they rush him back? Is that why we saw these 5 rookies come up and down so much, and not just the Walker Buehler gap and the Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin situation? I don't know, but we also know that Kershaw has, certain postseason endurance problems anyway.
Right.
So that's a big rut row question mark there for the Dodgers. But Walker Buehler has done decent in AAA. I think his last outing, he threw 2 innings and did pretty well. So
ramping up real slow. I think they'll be really glad to have him though when the time comes.
Yeah,
big time.
And he's recovering from surgery. I think it was a 2022 Tommy John surgery, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Tommy John. So, about halfway through the season.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my tie-in. You see what I did there? So that's in French. They call that a liaison, where you take the syllables of the two,
yes, okay,
bring them together.